Sardaukars, savage troops before whom the entire empire trembled. Loyal dogs of the Padishah emperors from House Carino, who served their ruler to the last drop of blood. An elite guard, before whose small detachments the great houses quaked. Even the dreadful Baron Vladimir Harkonnen and the fearless Duke Leto Atreides feared these soldiers. Who were they really? Where did they come from? How was such a deadly military community formed? And what led to the collapse of such a well-established system? Let's try to find out. My father told me about Salusa Secundus. You know, Thufir. I think it's like Arrakis. Maybe not quite as terrible, but pretty similar. Paul Atreides, DUNE. In the books by Frank Herbert, as well as in the continuation by his son, there is no detailed account of the origin of the Sardaukars. Apparently, the authors did not consider it necessary to focus on this. Therefore, the version presented here is more a compilation of researchers' opinions and by no means is presented as the absolute truth. Salusa Secundus, the third planet of Gamma Wiping, was forcibly settled around the year 4492 BG by adherents of the heretical Zen Sunni movement. These people were relocated from Poritrin, where the Wanderers had become rather complacent in the Earth-like favorable conditions. 9 generations of Zen Sunni lived in slavery on a dry planet, somewhat similar in climate to Arrakis. It is likely they actively participated in terraforming the planet, as Salusa Secundus is described as a green paradise from a dream when it served as the capital of the empire. The harsh living conditions and constant oppression contributed to the emergence of a strictly balanced society with limited needs and a militarized structure. Only in such an environment could the ancestors of the people, who much later became Sardaukars, the main support of the Padishah Carino imperial regime, be formed. The books say that the Emperor's warriors are unconditionally loyal to House Carino and have their own strict rules. Every step of a Sardaukar is governed by a secret internal code, while on the surface, only unwavering loyalty and ruthlessness to the enemies of the ruling dynasty. Such a community could not have been created from society's rejects, exiled to die on a radiation-soaked world. The ability to survive and grow stronger in unbearable conditions must be instilled over many generations. Religion plays an important role in such societies. As Frank Herbert repeatedly points out in the early parts of Dune, it is clear that religious doctrine became the cornerstone in the formation of such communities as the Sardaukars of Salusa Secundus and the Fremen of Arrakis. Heretical teachings that require their followers to strictly obey a hierarchy. They also preserve and enhance the gene pool under inhuman conditions. At the time when Salusa Secundus became the capital of the League of Nobles and the center of the Butlerian Jihad, House Butler received a planet with a mild climate and an excellent army. According to some researchers, the rulers of Salusa Secundus during the war with Omnius were the descendants of the head of the United Sardaukar tribes. What else could explain their fanatical devotion to the imperial family? In any case, when Fakan Butler adopted the surname Carino, he had at his disposal the foundation for a personal guard that would later become the scourge of the universe for thousands of years. Perhaps the Sardaukars could have degenerated into a pampered toy army much earlier, but a nuclear catastrophe caused by the rebellious House Tuntor at the beginning of the 3rd millennium AG turned the blooming imperial capital into smoldering radioactive ruins. Of course, the imperial court and all administrative organs moved to Kaitane, but Salusa Secundus avoided the fate of old Earth. The planet remained habitable, but extreme living conditions returned. With them came the opportunity to preserve a closed military religious society of people deeply loyal to the Emperor personally. Officially, the planet became an imperial prison. Criminals sent there for corrective labor were in fact doomed to slow and painful death. Those who survived, no more than 20%, merged into the specific local society. It was here, in deep secrecy and unbearable conditions, that the future Sardaukars learned the art of war from a young age. The combination of harsh training and strict religious rules allowed the Carino dynasty to maintain a relatively small but extremely effective army. The Sardaukars, vastly superior in preparation to the guards of the Lanzarote houses, became a true scourge of the ruling family. One Sardaukar warrior was worth 3 to 10 warriors of any noble house of the empire in battle, which made it easy to suppress any uprisings. This lasted for no less than 10,000 years, until one product of the Zensuni outcasts' misfortunes faced another, more perfect one, the Fremen of Arrakis. During the reign of the last Padishah Emperor, Shaddam IV Carino, the Sardaukar army still terrified the known universe. Every head of a great house, every citadel of a planet had to act with the awareness that it would take no more than 1 legion of Sardaukars to destroy their power. And that's just 30,000 men. However, the Emperor used his personal guard not only as a punitive tool. The Sardaukars also acted as spies, saboteurs, governors, special forces, personal bodyguards, and even advisors to Shaddam IV. Their high status in society meant that not only the senior ranks lived in comfort on planets with mild climates, even ordinary soldiers on their harsh homeland lived in conditions that, compared to other inhabitants of the planet, were more fitting for kings. This gradually corrupted what had been a structured and disciplined force. Disciplined in service, the warriors began to indulge in narcotics in their free time, weakening both mind and body. It can be said with certainty that among the reasons for the fall of the Carino dynasty was the noticeable degradation of its primary military force, the Sardaukars. Of course, this did not happen over a single decade, but its peak came precisely during the reign of the ill-fated emperor Shaddam IV. Every military structure requires a strict hierarchy. Nevertheless, the hierarchy of the Sardaukars may seem somewhat confusing, partly because this aspect is not given much attention in the DUNE book series. The hierarchy of the Sardaukars includes both strictly military and conditionally civil ranks. Or are they positions? That, of course, is for the reader to decide. It looks like this. Burseg. In most sources, the head of the Sardaukar army, Emperor Shaddam IV, personally liked to appear in the uniform of a Burseg. Whether there were others bearing this title during his reign is unknown. The Burseg is essentially the commander-in-chief, and if not the emperor himself, the Burseg may be the planetary ruler. Qaid. In most resources, ranks just below the Burseg, but deals with more civil affairs. For example, maybe a planetary governor. After the fall of House Carino, the 2 highest Sardaukar ranks were abolished as unnecessary, and the highest remaining rank became Bashar. Bashar, the highest general position and corresponding rank with all associated powers. Sub-Bashar, a junior general position and rank, roughly equivalent to a brigadier general. From this point, all Sardaukar hierarchical levels are purely military in nature. Batter, colloquially, colonel. Commander, Commandor, Lieutenant Colonel. Leyenbrek, something between a captain and a lieutenant. Imenbrek, essentially this is just a sergeant. However, if we recall the importance of a sergeant in the US military, it doesn't seem so minor. Corporal, what army of the future can do without a corporal? Sardaukar Private, no specific name was invented by the authors for these warriors. Naturally, like any elite troops, the Sardaukars had their unique uniforms. Senior officers wore uniforms adorned with golden trim, though even the ceremonial uniforms of lower ranks featured decorative elements. During military operations, Sardaukars wore field uniforms in gray, black, or sometimes brown colors. However, this was a matter of camouflage, not style. These fearsome warriors stood out in other ways. For example, many wore long hair. This was seen by other soldiers and civilians as a symbol of the Sardaukars' disdain for everyone else. Another distinctive feature of the Imperial Special Forces was their unique fighting style. Perhaps that's why Sardaukars disguised in Harkonnen uniforms were quickly exposed by the Atreides. A special fighting style requires special equipment. The close combat kit included poison darts, daggers, knives, swords, harpoons, and garrots made from a unique plant found only on Salusa Secundus, Shiga wire. It is worth noting, limited in their choice of ranged weapons, the Sardaukars focused primarily on close combat and particularly excelled in group tactics. For sabotage and espionage missions, the melee arsenal was supplemented with various small stabbing weapons, like poison needles hidden in their hair and blades concealed on their toes. Ranged combat in the Empire wasn't particularly popular due to the prevalence of personal shields, but a soldier is a soldier and must be ready for anything. Thus, ranged weapons in the Sardaukar arsenal included throwing knives, stunners, Mala pistols with poison darts, and powerful long-range lasguns. There was also a device more suitable for saboteurs, the Hunter-Seeker with remote control. It was precisely this device that attacked Paul Atreides at the very beginning of DUNE, exposing the Emperor's intentions. Sardaukars, elite soldiers, each worth 10 of any mercenaries their enemies could muster, men who knew no doubt, as from a young age they underwent not only physical training but also full-on brainwashing. The religious, mystical doctrines fed to the soldiers were somewhat similar to the beliefs of the Fremen on Arrakis. Sardaukars were a powerful force, loyal personally to the Emperor. Perhaps they were betrayed by the very sense of superiority that had been instilled in them through years of training. Perhaps it was their personal loyalty to the Emperor that ruined the cunning scheme devised by Baron Vladimir Harkonnen. Fearing the growing influence of Leto Atreides in the Landsraad, Emperor Shaddam IV was eager to put the impudent Duke in his place. Additionally, the ruler of the human universe felt personal resentment toward his opponent, since the Duke had exposed a fraud carried out by the Emperor's father. Perhaps Shaddam quite justifiably believed that he could not withstand the united wrath of the great houses. No matter how mighty the Sardaukar army, it would not have been enough to surpass such a large-scale uprising. Together with a sworn enemy of the Atreides, Baron Harkonnen, Shaddam devised a cunning plan to eliminate the dangerous family. The main striking force was to be the Sardaukars themselves, but here the Emperor made his first mistake. He placed 5 legions, 150,000 soldiers under the command of Harkonnen. And we remember, don't we, that the Sardaukars are loyal and answer only to the Emperor. Conflicts arose between Harkonnen's men and the Sardaukar command. The Baron and his people tried to conceal their activities to seize the throne from the Emperor. The watchful Sardaukar commander suspected them of foul play, and quite reasonably so. Shaddam's second major mistake was that he believed the stories about the locals that were provided to him by the Baron. This unchecked information proved costly for the Emperor's elite troops. Hardened by the deadly desert, the Fremen of Arrakis turned out to be worthy adversaries. The Sardaukars, who knew no mercy or fear, were essentially defeated by the locals. Defeated because they believed too deeply in their own uniqueness in the universe. The further history of the Sardaukars is a tale of the fall of a mighty force. Emperor Shaddam, overthrown by Paul Muad'Dib, withdrew with the remnants of his army to Salusa Secundus. However, it was no longer quite the deadly planet it had been several centuries earlier. And although the military society of the Sardaukars did not regress immediately, signs of decay appeared in the very next generation. Careerism and the pursuit of personal gain, previously unknown to them, crept into the hearts of the warriors. In the book, Children of Dune, there is such a passage. The Leven Brek stood up and stretched. He refrained from looking directly at the rise to his left, where a telltale glint had revealed the location of the transglass, which had transmitted his excellent work to the Bashar far off in the green lands of the capital. The Leven Brek smiled. This day's work would earn him a promotion. He already felt the insignia of a baiter at his neck, and someday a Bashar, perhaps even one day, a Burseg. Those who served well in the corps of Farad'n, grandson of the late Shaddam IV, received rich promotions. Someday, when the prince took his rightful throne, even higher advancements would come. The rank of Bashar might not be the end. On many worlds of this kingdom, one could receive baronies and counties as soon as the Atreides twins were eliminated. Alas, this already signaled the agony of the once dreaded personal troops of House Carino. The daughter of Shaddam, Princess Winsisha, also played her part in the collapse of the formerly excellent structure. Could she not have known that Sardaukars do not betray their master? Then why did she order the execution of the loyal Levenbrek, who had performed his task so well? Yes, the Emperor's soldiers tried to kill Paul Muad'Dib out of revenge. That rebellion was suppressed with the help of the Arrakis Fremen troops. The story of the best troops in the known universe ended during the reign of the God Emperor Leto II Atreides. He abolished the fully decayed structure as unnecessary. Did he do this because of the assassination attempt on his life? That is not known for certain. So he ended the story of the Sardaukars, legendary warriors born of suffering, tempered by fanaticism, and fallen under the weight of their own pride. Their disappearance became a symbol of the end of one era and the herald of a new one, where old instruments of power no longer held sway, and the memory of the Sardaukars remained only in the chronicles of the Empire, as a grim reminder that even the most loyal swords grow dull over time. And that's all for now. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon. Your engagement is the best reward for me. Thank you for watching. See you soon. Bye.